You ever walk outside on a quiet night? Hear something that just doesn't fit and your gut screams, something's wrong. That was me, standing barefoot in my driveway, listening to the faint bass of music and the clinking of glass echoing from Karen's pool house 2 streets down. And here's the kicker. This wasn't some backyard birthday. This was a full-blown, underground liquor operation, running smack in the middle of our so-called family-friendly homeowners association. I swear, I could smell it before I even saw it. The sour tang of spilled beer, the sharp bite of whiskey hanging in the humid night air, and the voices, dozens of them, shouting, laughing too loud, like a college frat party had been dropped into suburbia. I leaned on my car and muttered, "What the hell is she doing now?" See, Karen was no stranger to trouble. She was the Homeowners Association president, the self-appointed queen bee, always knocking on doors, wagging her finger, writing violations because someone's lawn was too long or a car had a smudge of dirt. She lived for power, thrived on control, but behind that pearl necklace and fake smile, she was running something rotten. I found out the hard way. One Wednesday night when I came home late from work, my headlights caught 2 guys in hoodies carrying crates, glass clinking as they shuffled fast into her pool house. I thought, nah, that can't be what I think it is. But then, the next morning, I saw Karen strutting around, barking at a neighbor about his recycling bin, like she wasn't hiding a speakeasy in her backyard. The hypocrisy burned. My fists clenched. She fined me $75 last month because I parked my truck facing the wrong direction on the curb. And yet here she was, illegally selling liquor like some bootlegger from the 1920s. Couldn't let it go. I started watching. Every night, more cars pulled up, engines humming low, doors slamming quick, voices muttering, money exchanging, bottles clattering. Sometimes I heard laughter so loud it broke through the night air, followed by the hiss of cans popping open. It wasn't just a party. It was business. And it got worse. By the second week, strangers lingered around the neighborhood. Teenagers, too young to even buy beer legally, stumbling past my house with brown paper bags clutched tight. I actually caught one kid puking in my rose bushes. God damn it. My blood boiled. But here's where it twists. Karen thought she was untouchable. She even bragged about it in whispers, not realizing her own walls carried sound. One night, walking the dog, I caught part of her voice over the fence. "Don't worry. No one here's gonna talk. I run this homeowners association. They wouldn't dare cross me." Oh really? Wouldn't dare. That smug laugh of hers. That nasal little chuckle. It echoed in my skull for days. I wasn't the only one fed up. My neighbor, James, a quiet Vietnam vet, cornered me by the mailbox. His jaw was tight, voice low. "You seeing what I'm seeing?" I nodded. "Thought so." He muttered, "This neighborhood's turning into a damn circus. Kids running drunk at midnight. Cops need to know." But reporting her wasn't easy. Karen had friends, council members, even the homeowners association treasurer. She'd spin it, claim we were harassing her. She'd pulled that stunt before. Sigh. I rubbed my temples. I knew we needed proof. So I got sneaky. I left my security camera angled just right toward her street. Caught the cars arriving. Headlights cutting through the dark. People hauling crates inside. Got audio too. The muffled bass. The sound of bottles clanking like wind chimes in a storm. Every clip built the case. But the real break came from Karen herself. One Saturday afternoon, she was screaming at a delivery guy in her driveway. I was mowing the lawn, pretending not to notice, but I heard every word. She barked, "You can't leave the boxes out here. Idiot. Get them inside before the neighbors see." The delivery guy shot back, "Lady, it's alcohol, not a dead body." My jaw dropped. She just admitted it, right there in daylight. That night, I made the call, heart pounding, phone sweaty in my hand. I dialed the non-emergency police line. I laid it all out. Karen, the crates, the parties, the underage kids, the delivery. First, the dispatcher hesitated. Like, "Sir, do you have evidence of an actual sale?" I smiled grimly. "Check my footage. Check my audio. You'll see enough to get a warrant." Hours ticked by. My nerves frayed. I sat by the window, blinds cracked, heart thudding like a drum. Midnight rolled in and then headlights, but not the usual ones. Black SUVs, quiet, no music. Doors opening with soft thunks. Flashlights flicking on. The cops were here. They moved fast, like a scene straight out of a Netflix crime series. Boots pounding pavement. Radios crackling low. Someone yelled, "Police! Open up!" Then chaos. Screams. Shouts. The pool house door splintering open. I swear, I almost laughed from the shock. People poured out like ants from a kicked mound. Stumbling. Shouting. Bottles smashing on the ground. One guy tried to bolt through the fence. Flash. Cop tackled him flat. The thud echoing down the block. Sirens wailed. Red and blue lights painting Karen's pristine white siding. And then there she was. Karen herself. Dragged out in a silk robe. Mascara streaked. Screeching at the top of her lungs. "You can't do this. I'm the Homeowners Association president. This is harassment." The cops didn't even flinch. One officer deadpanned. "Ma'am, you're under arrest for illegal alcohol distribution." Her face. Oh God, her face. She went from cocky queen bee to wide-eyed. Cornered rat in seconds. The neighbors poured out of their houses. Whispering. Gasping. Recording on their phones. Some even clapped. James, the vet, just folded his arms. Muttering. "About damn time." I almost felt relief. No, I did feel relief. Years of her bullying. Her petty fines, her smug little smirk. It all crumbled in one night under flashing lights. But there was more. Turns out, Karen wasn't just selling liquor. She was dodging taxes, running cash deals, even sneaking stuff to minors. The cops pulled out boxes of evidence. Bottles, cash envelopes, even a handwritten ledger with her neat, cursive notes, VIP orders, and teen rates. The fallout. Nuclear. The Homeowners Association board held an emergency meeting the next morning. Without Karen's iron grip, people finally spoke up. Every grudge, every shady act she pulled, spilled out like dirty laundry. She was voted out unanimously, banned from the Homeowners Association, and her precious status crumbled like a sandcastle under a wave. But the bitter twist, the part that still makes me shake my head. Karen tried to come back. Weeks later, after posting bail, she walked into the neighborhood with sunglasses and a forced smile, as if nothing had happened. She actually shouted from her driveway, "This is all a misunderstanding. I'll be back in charge soon enough." Nobody believed her. By then, she was infamous. Parents kept their kids inside when she walked by. Neighbors crossed the street to avoid her. Her once bustling pool house. Empty. Padlocked. A dead echo of her arrogance. The last I heard, she was facing serious charges. Distribution without a license. Contributing to minors. Tax evasion. Her lawyer kept begging for leniency. But the DA had too much evidence. Karen's empire crumbled overnight and she never saw it coming. And me. Sometimes I still stand on my porch at night, listening to the silence. No more bass thumping. No more glass clinking. Just the cicadas buzzing in the trees. The quiet hum of a peaceful neighborhood finally breathing again. I whisper to myself, half a chuckle, half a sigh. Guess the queen finally got dethroned. But hey, you tell me, was it karma? Justice? or just a neighborhood finally snapping back? Thanks for sticking with me through this wild ride, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more unbelievable homeowners association stories. HOA Karen stole my Steam Deck, assaulted me despite my arm brace. Security footage proved her lies. I never thought I'd see my own neighbor's face twisted like that. Red, eyes wide, jaw clenched as she swung her purse into my ribs. All because I dared to call her out. And the craziest part? She'd already stolen my Steam Deck from my front porch an hour earlier. I know. Sounds absurd. But in this neighborhood, the HOA rules aren't the worst part. It's the self-appointed queen bee we all call Karen. She walks around like she's got the legal authority of the FBI, the moral standing of a saint, and the patience of, well, actually no patience at all. That day, my right arm was in a black medical brace tendon surgery. I was already moving slow, already feeling vulnerable. I'd just come back from the clinic when I saw the delivery notification on my phone. My Steam Deck, something I'd saved for over 8 months, was supposed to be waiting by my door. But when I stepped up onto my porch, the cardboard box was gone. Vanished. I felt my stomach drop. The sound of cicadas filled the humid air, like a constant electric hiss, as I looked left and right. That's when I saw Karen walking briskly down the sidewalk with something under her arm wrapped in a plastic grocery bag. "Hey!" I called, voice cracking. She froze, shoulders stiff, turned around, plastered on this fake smile, and said, "Oh, I was just protecting it from porch pirates." "Then give it back," I said, my pulse spiking. Her smile slipped. "I'll bring it to the next HOA meeting. I need to make sure it's not forged merchandise. A lot of fraud online these days." My mouth fell open. Was she serious? She was acting like she had the right to verify my property before I could have it. "Karen, it's mine. It has my name on the shipping label. Give back." She took a step toward me, and I swear, she enjoyed the way I tensed. "Watch your tone, young man. And maybe don't wave that arm brace at me like a weapon." I actually laughed, half shock, half disbelief. "Are you kidding me right now?" Her eyes narrowed. "You're making me feel threatened." Oh no, I knew that tone. The same one she used when she'd called the cops on a teenager for skateboarding last summer. She had that performance voice, the one designed to make her sound like the innocent party. I didn't want to escalate, but I also wasn't going to let my $500 handheld console disappear into her garage. "Karen, I have security cameras. I saw you take it. I'll call the police if I have to." That's when she snapped. She lunged forward, swung her heavy leather purse into my ribs, and shoved the plastic-wrapped bundle against my chest so hard my shoulders screamed. I staggered back, gasping, clutching my side. "What the?" She stepped away quickly, holding her phone up like she'd just filmed me attacking her. "You assaulted me!" she yelled, loud enough for 2 dog walkers across the street to hear. My jaw actually went slack. My ribs throbbed, my arm was aching, and she was already flipping the script. "Are you insane?" I barked. Her face went blank in that creepy way sociopaths in movies do. "I'm calling the HOA board and the sheriff. You're going to regret this." Something inside me snapped, too, but not in anger. In cold, calculating focus. If she wanted to play this game, fine. I had the receipts. Literally. While she paced around pretending to be on the phone, I limped inside and pulled up my doorbell camera feed. Clear as day. Karen walking up my driveway, looking around, grabbing the box, and shoving it in a plastic bag. Then minutes later, me confronting her and her hitting me with the purse. No ambiguity. No, maybe she tripped. This was assault and theft. I called the sheriff's office myself. My voice was still shaky, but I laid out the facts. They said they'd send someone over. Karen must have seen the cruiser turn onto our street because suddenly she was on my porch again, slamming the Steam Deck box down like she was doing me a favor. "Here," she said. "I didn't want it anyway. I was protecting it." The deputy's boots crunched on the gravel as he approached. Karen turned, smile sweet, and launched into her script. "Officer, I was just trying to make sure my neighbor wasn't the victim of fraud." He got aggressive. The deputy held up a hand. "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to step over there while I watch the footage." Her eyes twitched. "Footage? I handed over my phone with the video queued up. We all watched in silence. The deputy's expression never changed. But when it ended, he looked straight at her. "Ma'am, that's theft. And that's assault. You want to tell me why you're hitting someone who's recovering from surgery?" Karen stammered. "That's not what happened. Ed forged." "Forged what?" the deputy asked flatly. "The purchase, probably fraud." The deputy sighed. "The only fraud I see here is your story, ma'am." "Oh, it was delicious." I could have bottled the satisfaction in that moment. Karen started talking faster, voice higher, trying to wriggle out of it. But the deputy told her she was being cited for misdemeanor theft and assault. He didn't cuff her, unfortunately, but the humiliation was almost enough. Almost. The next day, I filed a lawsuit. I wasn't playing around. She'd hurt me physically, smeared my name to the HOA, and tried to keep my property. My lawyer was giddy apparently. Karen had been involved in 2 previous disputes that almost went to court, but both neighbors had backed down. I wasn't backing down. When the HOA president called me to talk this out, I laughed in his face. "Talk it out?" "She hit me. She stole from me. I have security footage. You really want to attach your name to defending that?" There was this long pause, then a week. "Well, we don't want bad publicity." "Too late," I said, and hung up. 2 weeks later, my attorney called me sounding like he'd just won the lottery. "You're not going to believe what we found," he said. Apparently, during discovery, they'd requested all of Karen's HOA incident reports from the past 3 years. What came back was a mountain of paper, half of it handwritten, full of exaggerated accusations, and the other half typed up in suspiciously similar fonts and formatting. My lawyer's paralegal ran them through a quick metadata check, and sure enough, she'd forged multiple signed statements from other residents to back up her claims in previous disputes. Fraud. Flat-out fraud. In court, watching the color drain from her face as the judge read the findings was like watching a bad actress forget her lines. She tried to stammer out some nonsense about clerical errors and misunderstandings, but the judge wasn't buying it. He hit her with an order to pay my medical costs, legal fees, and damages for defamation, over $12,000 in total. And because of the forged reports, the HOA's own insurance refused to cover her. The board had no choice but to remove her. Watching her walk out of that meeting room with her lips pressed so tight they were almost white, it was the kind of poetic justice you dream about. Of course, she didn't go quietly. She muttered something about how the lawsuit was a setup, and that the neighborhood would regret losing her leadership. Leadership? Please. Half the residents were openly celebrating by the end of the week. The Steam Deck still works like a charm. Every time I power it on, there's this quiet, petty little part of me that smiles, not just because I won, but because I proved her lies. She thought she could gaslight her way out of this, turn me into the villain, and skate by like she had before. Not this time. A few months later, I heard she tried to join another HOA in the next town over. But here's the thing: word travels fast when you've been in a public lawsuit. People had seen the court documents. Screenshots from the security footage had even floated around on a local Facebook group. Her reputation followed her like a bad smell. The last time I saw her, she was walking her dog past my street without even looking up. No smug wave, no fake smile, just eyes straight ahead, pretending I didn't exist. Good. Let her remember every time she sees me that she lost, and not just in court. She lost her influence, her standing, and whatever little power trip she thought she had. And to anyone out there dealing with their own Karen in the neighborhood, and roll over. Get your proof, know your rights, and don't be afraid to push back hard. Sometimes the only way to stop a bully is to make sure the whole town knows exactly what they did. If you enjoyed this story and want more real-life HOA karma like this, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more lawsuit wins and epic neighbor takedowns. I knew something was wrong the moment I saw the black SUV idling at the end of my driveway. Too clean, too quiet, and the 3 men inside didn't look like they were here to sell cookies. My gut twisted. What the hell does the homeowners association think they're doing now? I'd been at war with them for months over a bogus architectural violation. They claimed I owed $18,000 for. Total fraud. They'd even slipped a forged signature onto a document to make it look like I'd agreed to the find me own name. Copied from a check I wrote 2 years ago. I had the proof. My lawyer was already preparing the lawsuit. But apparently, someone on the board thought intimidation would be faster. The SUV's engine cut off, and the doors opened in perfect sync. 3 big guys in black jackets stepped out, moving like they'd rehearsed this. Not neighbors. Not even locals. From the look of them, the tallest one smirked, cracked his knuckles, and started up the driveway. I took a deep breath, my heart thudding in my ears. Well, this is gonna be fun, I muttered, and reached for my phone not to call 911, but to send a single text. They're here. From the back of my property. 2 figures emerged broad-shouldered, calm, and carrying the kind of presence you can't fake. Jack and Torres. Former Marines. Old friends of mine who'd been staying the week after a reunion. They'd seen combat. This was going to be different. The lead thug stopped halfway up the driveway, sizing them up. "We just want to talk," he called out, fake friendly, his voice carrying that greasy undertone of a lie. "Yeah. Then lose the attitude and step back off my land." Jack shot back, his voice like gravel under boots. The smallest of the 3 men snorted. "We've been sent to deliver a message from the Homeowners Association Board. You're making things difficult. They'd like it if you stopped." I laughed, couldn't help it. "You mean they'd like it if I stopped exposing their fraud?" My voice cracked, part rage, part disbelief. "Tell them the next message they're getting is from my lawyer." The thug took a step closer. "Bad move." Torres shifted his weight. Just a subtle change. But the guy froze. Marines have a way of looking at someone like they're already measuring the coffin. The tall one raised his hands, pretending to be reasonable. "No need to make this ugly. You brought 3 guys to my home. It's already ugly." I cut in. He smirked. "You think your little friends scare us?" That's when Jack chuckled. "Buddy, we're not here to scare you. We're here to keep you from doing something real stupid." The air got heavy, thick with unspoken tension. Even the birds went quiet. Then the smallest thug made the mistake of pulling something shiny from his pocket. Torres moved like lightning, his hand snapped out, grabbed the guy's wrist, and twisted. The metallic clink of a folding knife hitting the driveway sounded way too loud. "What the hell?" The thug yelped, doubling over. Jack stepped in, his voice low but lethal. "That's assault with a deadly weapon on private property. You really want to add that to your record?" The tall one started backing away, glancing toward the SUV. We were just told to send a message." "Okay. Yeah. Well, here's ours," I said, pulling out my phone and hitting record. "You just threatened me with a weapon. On camera. In front of 2 witnesses who served this country. And you admitted the Homeowners Association sent you." His face drained of color. "We didn't. Save it for the judge." Jack pulled out his own phone. Dialing. "Sheriff. Yeah. We've got 3 trespassers with a weapon. Sending you the video now." The smallest one hissed at the others. "We gotta go." But the SUV's engine wasn't turning over. Torres had already stepped behind it, phone in hand, calmly snapping pictures of their plates. Minutes later, the sound of sirens sliced through the air. The thugs shifted like trapped animals, but none of them dared run. When the deputies arrived, they didn't waste time with small talk. Hands behind backs, cuffs clicking shut. One of the officers looked at Jack and Torres with a raised brow. "You boys handle this." Jack shrugged. "They made bad life choices." As the SUV was towed away and the thugs stuffed into the back of the patrol cars, I caught the look on the tallest one's face. Panic mixed with betrayal. He clearly thought this was going to be easy. What he didn't know, and what made me grin despite the adrenaline still in my veins, was that this was just the beginning. My lawyer was going to love this footage. Not only had the Homeowners Association committed fraud, now they'd sent hired muscle to intimidate me. That's not just a loss-at-hats criminal. And here's the kicker: 2 days later, I learned something that made the whole thing even sweeter. One of the arrested muscle was actually on probation for another HOA-related assault in a neighboring county. Yeah. These guys were repeat players in someone's dirty game. When the story hit the local paper, the board tried to distance themselves, claiming they'd never authorized any physical intimidation. But remember that forged document? The one with my faked signature. Turns out the same handwriting appeared in an internal Homeowners Association memo about sending someone to talk to me. My lawyer nearly fell out of his chair laughing. The board president, Karen Bennett, queen of smug superiority, called me personally that night. "We can make this go away," she said, her voice sugary sweet but shaking underneath. "Oh, you mean like you tried to make my signature appear on that fake agreement?" I snapped. "Or like you tried to send a message to my front door?" "You're making a mistake," she started. But I cut her off. "No, Karen, you made the mistake. And now, I'm just letting the law handle it." She hung up. That should have been the end. But the board couldn't keep their mouths shut. They started sending emails to the neighborhood, claiming I was unstable, aggressive, and a danger to the community. Big mistake, because now they were stacking up defamation on top of fraud and intimidation. By the end of the week, my lawyer had a file thicker than a phone book. And me, I had 2 Marines who promised they'd be back for the trial, just to watch the board squirm. The trial was scheduled for mid-morning, but Karen strutted into the courthouse like she was arriving for a ribbon cutting. She wore a bright red blazer, the kind of power color she thought made her untouchable, and that tight smile that screamed, "I still think I'm winning." Her little entourage of board members trailed behind, whispering like high school mean girls. I sat at the plaintiff's table, calm, almost bored. Jack and Torres were already there, pressed suits, looking like they could break the bench in half if they leaned too hard. My lawyer leaned over. "She doesn't know we have the memo yet." The memo, that precious internal Homeowners Association email, recovered through a subpoena, where Karen herself had typed, "If legal threats don't work, send over some of Mark's guys to have a chat." Right there, in black and white, with a timestamp that matched the day the SUV showed up. And yes, Mark's guys turned out to be our 3 friends in cuffs. The judge called us to order, and Karen launched into her performance-teary voice. Head shakes, claims that she'd been harassed by me for months. The board members nodded solemnly like they were watching a tragic play. Then my lawyer stood, his voice steady. "Your Honor, the defense would like to review this exhibit." He held up a printed copy of the memo, the big, bold header reading "Confidential Homeowners Association Board Discussion." Karen's face went pale. She tried to object, but the judge waved her down. "You'll have your turn, Ms. Bennett. Sit." The moment the memo was read aloud, you could feel the air change. The courtroom gallery leaned in. Even the bailiff's eyebrows went up. And then came the forged document side-by-side comparison of my genuine signature and the copy-paste fake they'd used to justify the fine. The handwriting expert didn't just testify, it felt like they buried her case 6 feet under right there. Karen's voice got higher, faster, more desperate. She blamed a rogue board member, claimed she didn't know about the forged signature, and that the chat meant a friendly conversation. The judge didn't buy a word of it. By the end of the day, not only did I win the case, but the Homeowners Association was ordered to pay damages, legal fees, and most satisfying of all, was placed under temporary receivership while the fraud investigation moved forward. Karen. She was removed as president effective immediately. The last I saw of her that day, She was standing outside the courthouse, phone pressed to her ear, pacing like a trapped animal. The red blazer didn't look so powerful, no, it looked like a warning flag that the bull had finally caught her. And me. I walked out with my Marines at my side, the lawsuit in my favor, and the sweet knowledge that she'd brought this downfall on herself. If you want more real-life homeowners association justice stories that end with fraudsters getting crushed in court, don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss the next lawsuit takedown. HOA Karen kicked a disabled cop? Seriously? And tried to steal his gun? Who does that? You'd think this kind of madness only happens in movies, but nope. It happened right here in our little suburban nightmare. And guess what? A martial artist bystander didn't just stand there. Nope. She took Karen down hard. But, man, the fallout was something else entirely. I still remember the way the sun sliced through the clouds that morning, sharp and bright, like it was spotlighting the chaos ready to unfold. My heart was pounding even before I saw them. The street was buzzing. Neighbors gathered with their phones out, whispering like it was some kind of scandalous reality show. And honestly, it was. Karen, the HOA president, Mrs. I Make the Rules herself, was standing face-to-face with Officer Mark Jensen. Yeah, the very same Mark who'd lost a leg in the line of duty a few years back. He was calm, but you could see that fire in his eyes, like a storm held back just for the right moment. But Karen? She looked like a caged animal, wild and dangerous. You can't park here, Karen snapped, her voice dripping with that fake authority she loved to flaunt. This is private property, and I'm telling you to move your car now. Mark sighed, his patience worn thin. Karen, I've told you a dozen times. I have a permit. This isn't some random spot, it's designated for disabled veterans like me. Oh, please. Your permit is probably forged. I'm sick of all the fraud around here. Karen spat back, stepping closer, her eyes narrowing like a hawk about to pounce. You think just because you wear a badge you can do whatever you want? Not in my HOA. The crowd murmured. Some gasped. Others shook their heads in disbelief. Forged? Fraud? Karen was seriously accusing a disabled cop of faking his permit? And right in front of everyone? I could barely breathe as I watched the tension escalate. Then, out of nowhere, Karen lunged, and before anyone could blink, she kicked Mark's good leg. His face twisted in shock and pain. The street erupted in shouts. Are you crazy? Someone yelled. But Karen didn't stop. She reached for his holstered gun, the one he carried legally, of course, like she thought if she could snatch that, she could control the whole situation. But Mark's instincts kicked in. He grabbed her wrist, gripping it tight. Let go, Karen hissed, struggling. That's when Sarah stepped in. Sarah, the quiet woman everyone knew as the neighborhood yoga teacher. But what no one expected was that she was also a trained martial artist. I swear, it was like watching a scene from an action movie. With a fluid motion, she intercepted Karen's hand, twisting it until Karen let out a sharp cry and stumbled back, clutching her wrist. Enough, Karen, Sarah said, voice calm but steely. You're done here. Karen glared, furious, but didn't dare challenge Sarah. The crowd was silent for a moment, absorbing what had just happened. Then the phones came out again, live video streaming, social media about to explode. But the real shocker came a week later. Karen, as if nothing had happened, tried to sue Mark. She filed a lawsuit claiming assault and defamation. The nerve. What made it worse was the paperwork, obviously forged affidavits from neighbors she'd coerced or threatened, trying to frame Mark as the aggressor. Fraud at its finest, right in front of the whole HOA. But Mark wasn't alone. Sarah testified with fierce clarity, detailing every moment. The judge wasn't having any of Karen's theatrics. The truth was laid bare: Karen's attempt to abuse power, to bully a disabled veteran, to steal his gun, and then twist the story with forged documents. The courtroom was electric when the verdict came down. Karen lost everything: her position, her credibility, even her HOA privileges. The backlash was immediate and brutal. Neighbors who once pretended to support her started coming forward with stories of her manipulations, her petty frauds, and her endless vendettas. And you want to hear the kicker? Karen tried to pull one last stunt, forging signatures to get back on the HOA board. But this time, Sarah caught her red-handed. The police were called, and Karen's house was raided for evidence of fraud and forgery related to HOA documents. It was like watching karma unfold in real time. I still get chills thinking about how quickly things spiraled. One moment, Karen was the untouchable queen of the neighborhood. The next, she was a disgraced fraudster exposed for everyone to see. Sometimes, late at night, I hear the faint echo of her yelling, the desperate cries as she tried to cling to power. But the silence afterward? That's the sweetest sound, because it means justice, real justice, finally caught up with her. And all it took was one brave disabled cop, one unexpected martial artist, and a community that refused to be fooled by lies and fraud. Funny how truth has a way of coming out, isn't it? But let me ask you this: what would you have done if you were standing there that day? Would you have stayed silent? Or would you stand up, just like Sarah did, and say, "No more"? After the court ruling, things changed fast. Karen's name became a cautionary tale whispered at block parties and HOA meetings. No longer the queen bee, she was now the disgraced villain. The woman who tried to use forged documents and fraud to bully a disabled cop and got caught. The neighborhood felt lighter, freer somehow, like a dark cloud had finally lifted. Mark, for his part, didn't seek revenge. He simply wanted respect for the sacrifices he made and the rights he earned. And that day on the street, when Karen lunged and kicked him, that was the last straw. She crossed a line that even the HOA's power-hungry dictator couldn't deny. But Sarah? Man, Sarah became a local hero overnight. Not just for her quick martial arts moves, but for standing up against Karen's lies and fraud in court. She showed us all that sometimes it takes more than courage. It takes action, knowledge, and refusing to let injustice slide. Still, the aftermath was messy. Karen didn't just vanish quietly. She filed an appeal, dragging everyone through more lawsuits and hearings. You'd think after all that fraud and forged evidence, she'd give up, right? Nope. She kept digging herself deeper, like a bad reality TV star desperate for attention. Her obsession with control became her downfall. One by one, neighbors who once feared her stepped forward with affidavits and testimonies. They revealed how she forged signatures to pass HOA rules that benefited her friends, how she threatened families to vote her way, and even how she falsified maintenance records to hide the poor condition of community property. The judge wasn't having any of it. The appeal was thrown out, and Karen was ordered to pay heavy fines not just for harassment but for fraud and attempted theft of a police officer's weapon. The media caught wind of it, and suddenly the whole city knew about the HOA president who lost her power because she tried to steal a disabled cop's gun. What a headline. But what hit me hardest was the silence from Karen afterward. No more rants. No more lawsuits. No more threats. Just an eerie quiet that settled over the neighborhood like a calm after a storm. Sometimes, I walk past her house and see the peeling paint and locked gates, a physical symbol of the collapse of her empire. It's wild to think how one person's greed and abuse of power can ripple out and ruin not just their own life, but the peace of an entire community. And it all started with that one day, that crazy, sunlit morning when Karen lost control and tried to kick down a hero she couldn't break. If there's one thing this whole mess taught me, it's this: lies, forged documents, fraud, and bullying might feel like a shortcut to power, but karma's got a long memory. And sooner or later, justice catches up, usually with a lawsuit in tow. So next time you think about letting someone like Karen run the show, remember Mark and Sarah, and remember that standing up matters. Whether it's a kick, a testimony, or just speaking the truth, you can make a difference. Thanks for listening this wild story. If you want to hear more jaw-dropping true HOA dramas and see how justice unfolds, hit that subscribe button on my YouTube channel, because these lawsuits aren't just paperwork. They're real battles fought by real people.